Well, hello everyone. It's Leslie Flowers, and I just realized I don't have my my ring light on. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go off screen here. It's so funny, isn't it? Okay, 1 second. There we go. Okay, now we're in good shape. Hey, how is everybody doing? Come on in. Come on in, everybody. The comments should be starting. The streaming is going. I am here. Here I am. See, the lighting is a little bit better. And in just a minute or two, we will have our comments coming in. So for those of you who are just joining us, we start a little early so I can share with you who I am and what Mind Over Matter Mondays is all about. So we'll turn this off until people start coming in. Or no, we'll leave it on. What the heck? There you go. So I'm Leslie Flowers, and this is the second year, I think, or maybe into the third. We've done at least 100 of these Mind Over Matter Mondays. Each week on Mondays, we begin with a different guest teacher whose area of expertise and growing expertise, desire to be an expert in, is shared by a whole group of guest teachers. Hello, Stephen Ings. So good to see you here. You're off work today. How wonderful. Oh, that's awesome, awesome, awesome. And you're in New York, so you're home and it's a sunny day. We have the most amazing Leanna Stock here, Luomo. And Leanna is she's in Duluth, Minnesota. And she is a registered dietitian and focuses on diabetes. She also posts the most beautiful pictures online from her backyard in Duluth. And it's quite lovely. So it's nice to see beautiful photos coming from people that are very technically oriented and expert. So I'm also excited to see Charles Caldwell is here. Hello, Charles. Charles is calling in from Hong Kong, China, which means it's almost 11 o'clock at night there. So thank you, Charles, for being here. And I do this 15 minutes early so that I have the opportunity before bringing on our wonderful guest teacher, who is Kimberly Lechnick. She will be with us today. I want you to know who you are for me and how you show up, and also for other people to know who you are from the way I see you. And I've trained myself to look for the greatness in all of you. So guess what? I find it. I find the greatness in all of you. And look, there's Christine Feedy. I'm going back to Charles. Charles was very involved in a transformational technology of which I took part. And we've had two actually, panels with people that have done transformational technology, which is landmark education, but it started as EST, and it's also broken off into other legacy and different, let's say, factions of the original work done by Werner Erhard. And several of our guest teachers on Mondays have done this work. And look who Jason Forehead is here. So excited that he's here. And so Charles has a live show every Wednesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. Oh, and he gets into all sorts of subjects, AI and leadership and human resources. He is a wealth of information. It's a little late for me, but, it isn't for everybody else. And the replays are always available. So I'm happy that we are doing that, that we have those replays. All these replays are available on my profile page. And I am a mentor and a teacher of the principles of success from Think and Grow Rich. I've been teaching that for 20 years, certified by Bob Proctor, who was, and maybe still is, the leading expert on Napoleon Hill's work. Think and Grow Rich, the #2 bestseller of all times. And I've been teaching it for 18 years, certified and licensed by Proctor. And I've added over the years different pieces of my own work, the 12 Laws of Achievement, which I developed, the only checklist for setting goals that I've ever found that actually works. And there are 12 of them, and they are what give us consistent results. So what's important here to know about Mind Over Matter Mondays is a couple of things that you should understand and that I'd like you to understand. And so one is that we're all growing or slipping back, but we're all growing in conscious awareness. The more we know, the more we realize that we do have infinite potential, or more potential than we thought we did at one time. So before you came into this room, you had a certain understanding of what we're going to talk about, gratitude and leadership today. When you leave, you will have grown. So the idea here is that all of the teachers, whether they have agency and they're experts, whether they're new, whether they've been doing it for a while or only for a little while, they're going to bring in a different prism of the same concepts articulated in a different way that might resonate with you, that might make it clear, and that will help you grow in your infinite potential. So while the teachers are growing and articulating from their level of agency, right, with the desire for you to understand personal development in such a way that you can turn it in from confusion to clarity and make practical applications in your own life. So the idea here is okay, we get that we've got some things we'd like to modify in our behaviors. How do we do that? That's what this is about. So you're getting hit from a number of different people with their articulation at their particular level of awareness, which can coincide or resonate with your growth where you are. So you could at one time hear something and not understand it. And today you hear it again from Kimberly and you go, I got it. So that is what happens when we're growing in awareness of our infinite potential. And that's what this is all about. We have the wonderful 𝘠𝙀 calling in from the West Coast. And sometimes LinkedIn bumps us off for whatever technical reason, but we can stream to other platforms. And so Lay has put the link to YouTube. So copy that in case you want to switch over to YouTube. And I also did the very first comment. So Lay, thank you for being here. She has drones. She's a drone operator and she's a digital artist. And you'd not ever know that about her unless you went and studied her profile. And she and I are both in a book that's going to be published in the next couple of months called We Are More Than Our Diagnoses, Book 2. And so I'm getting to know Lay in a very different way. And it's lovely because we've been friends for over 10 years. So thank you, Lay, for always being here. Inderjit, so glad that you're here. I don't know that I've met you, but I absolutely would like to connect and would love to hear how you enjoy this today. And look, we're setting this up today a little differently. We want you to ask questions. We want you to give your points of view, or what are you hearing? What is coming up for you? In other words, when I say something, or particularly when Kimberly is teaching, there will be thoughts that will bubble to the top of your awareness. That's what we'd love for you to put in the comments. And any questions that you have, proceed it with the word question, and we'll do our best to take care of that. Then we'll come in afterward. I'm going to be better at this. I know I keep saying that. And we will respond to questions that haven't been answered for you, or if there are further questions. So why this is important is because these are all available for replay. So people that come in to replay, they not only get what we're doing right now, pre-recorded, or they get to listen to it again, but they also get all your comments and all the things that you've come up with. So right now, oh, Philip Ailes is here. Hello, Philip. Philip is in Florida. So happy to see you, my friend. Philip is a former veteran, and he's a very big personal growth and development, big part of our community. And Inderjit is in Brazil. Fantastic. Let's see who else is here. I don't want to miss anybody here. Okay, so most people don't come in till 11, but this is my opportunity to brag on you and to let you know that when you come in here 15 minutes early, anywhere between quarter to 11 and 11, I get to love on you. I get to talk about you, how I know you. And the community is here. I highly recommend that you follow and connect with people here. So on Monday, we have this show. And then on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, I do a study on Think and Grow Rich, principles, leadership, and universal laws. So the idea is the beginning of the week, you set yourself up, right, with positive thoughts and new ideas and trying on new concepts, really thinking to begin the week. And then at the end of the week, to close it off or to kick off your weekend, we look at principles, leadership, and laws, the examples that have been used over 100 years, in some cases 5,000, but certainly from Think and Grow Rich, that people over the last 100 years have used to be wealthy, happy, and healthy. So I'm so super excited that you're here. Let's see who else is here. I believe, Coach Sean Michael is here. Hi, Coach Sean. He's one of our guest teachers, and he loves to talk about identity, everything about identity. And his show follows this right on the heels. So, Sean, put the link to your live event in the comments, and I encourage everyone, take a break for a second when this is over, and if you have the bandwidth, grab a drink and a sandwich, whatever time of day it is, and hop into his live. He does something quite different, but it's also highly valuable. And I always remind people to go to Sean's because I move my times and it butts right up against his, and I don't want you to miss anything. All right, so we are a few minutes away. If you have any questions right now, if I've missed anything, this is the great time to mention it. And we're here every Monday morning. And Christine Feedy is here. Oh, I'm so excited to see Christine. Christine is a go-getter. When I first met her, or I actually had known her a little bit, Christine took on an MBA program and did it in half the time. So she's one of these people, and she just got a very nice new position. She is brilliant, fun, gorgeous, a mom of twins, and shares a lot about herself. And now she's now with this new company. So you'll notice that her personal posts are very limited, and she's very much involved in working with her new company. So we understand that. Right? Absolutely. Congratulations again to you, Christine. I hope you're really enjoying yourself. All right. And the last thing I'll say before we actually I'll play the intro. I'm going to try to sing a song. I'm on the third week and I got to get to the doctor now. I sometimes feel better. And so I think it's time to get some antibiotics. Anyway. So here we are. Oh, Linda Meyer is here. And Linda has a beautiful newsletter. She is a new guest teacher. She'll be with us shortly on a Monday. Her specialty is narcissism, the before, the after, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right? So I'm going to go off mute for just a second so I can cough. Coughing comes when it wants to come. That's why I'm going to try to sing a song when we go live, and then I'll bring up Kimberly and we'll get right into it. And we should be done just before noon so you can hop over and see our friend Sean Michael as he continues teaching us all about awareness. With awareness, we get to break the old patterns, don't we, Sean? And Omar M is here. Omar M has a show every Sunday at noon Eastern. Do we really know them? And then he's the king of Zoom Party, which is like an adaptation of Jeopardy live, right? And it's called Zoom Party. It's phenomenal. And in fact, last weekend we had 3 guys that were Gen Xers, and I got to help create the questions, and it was so much fun. The strong men, right? It was that. He does mothers, and he does all sorts of them. We've even done a Think and Grow Rich Zoom party, and I got to write the questions for that. Of course, who else would do that but me, right? All right, so it's now 11 o'clock. I'm going to play the intro, and the intro is created by Soul Media Live Productions. And for those of you who know Aaron Gibson, he created this for me. Both the intro, I use it as intro and outro, and he did both an intro and outro for the Friday show. So I'm so excited that you're all here. Let's have a little intro, and then we will begin. All right. Isn't that beautiful? I just love that piece of music and artwork and photography. And since that came on, Lisa 𝗱𝘱 came in. Lisa has a live show every other Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, live. And it is Metamorphosis Dialogues. It's a panel, and it looks at everything about menopause. And Lisa is a registered dietitian. We have the most amazing Lauren Benberry here. She lives out on the West Coast. So thank you so much for being here. And now I'm going to try to sing this song. I'm going to sing it because I love to sing. And I decided that since I have my own show, I can sing if I want to. And I must tell you, I've gotten better and better. And so sit back and enjoy this for just a minute. Then I'll introduce our wonderful Kimberly, and we'll be off to the races, okay? If my throat holds out. I took my love and took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around. And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Pretty song, isn't it? Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. Oh, but time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Oh, I'm getting older too. Take my love, take it down. Oh, climb a mountain and turn around. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, will the landslide bring it down? And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, will the landslide bring it down? Oh, the landslide bring it down. And there we go. I made it all the way through. Hello, Christy D. Williams. I hope you liked that song. I love that song. And it took me a long time to be able to sing that. Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac, she is really good. And that particular song was very challenging in the beginning to keep up with the tempo. Thank you, Lauren. I'm so glad you're enjoying yourself. So let me switch this. I want to add this right here. Here we go. All right. Maybe I want it a little bit differently. No, I think this is good. I'm going to shut these off for now because I want to tell you about this woman before she comes up. Okay, she's in the studio, and Kimberly and I have been connected. In fact, she was a co-host at one time for Mind Over Matter Mondays. So we've known each other a long time. But here's what I want you to know, everybody, about Kimberly. She believes that some of life's most meaningful transformations begin not when we have all the answers, but when we become willing to ask deeper questions. As a certified relationship coach, speaker, executive producer, and television and podcast host, Kimberly has devoted her work to helping people, especially high-achieving women, help them rediscover the connection, the confidence, and the joy that can become lost while caring for everyone else first. I'm sure you all have experienced that. And with a compassionate presence and a heart-centered approach, Kimberly guides others toward understanding that true success is not measured solely by accomplishments, but by the quality of our relationships with ourselves, with others, and the lives we are creating. Her work gently reminds us that fulfillment is not something to chase. It is something we uncover. Her mission is to help others move from merely achieving life to truly living it. So let us welcome Kimberly, we'll make her big. There she is. Hello, Kimberly. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well, Leslie. I was backstage enjoying your singing. What a beautiful song choice. It
Oh,
is so
thank
good to be
you.
with you.
Oh, thank you. And, for those of you who are interested in becoming a guest teacher, or you are a guest teacher, or, one of the things we do, Kimberly, and what you and I do, and each one of the guest teachers do, we get our heads together a couple of days before to come up with the best way to present the concepts that you're presenting to the world, right, Kimberly, and the ones that you want us to remember. So tell us a little bit about what that experience is, that hour that we go through your work, and what has it been for you? Because we've done this several times.
Well, I just absolutely love it, Leslie, because it's not necessarily about the work that we're creating, right? Or that we want to teach more effectively. It's about the relationship that you get to build. And in this case, the relationship that I continue to build with you.
Mm,
And what better way to build a relationship than to have two like minds come together, all in the name of loving personal development
I know
and growth?
it's
It
it,
just
it's
doesn't get better.
it doesn't, and I get to the reason I get in there is because I want to be able to ask questions, and a lot of times where like Kimberly has her own platform that she is evolving, so it's in the
Mhm.
stages of evolution. So in order for me to be a good host, right, I have to be able to understand what in the world she's talking about. But I want to ask you a couple questions before we get into your training today, okay?
Sure.
And we'll get that all ready. So and Kimberly wasn't prepared for this. So I apologize, but I just thought it would be kind of fun. So many people find their life's work through a personal turning point. Was there a moment or an experience in your own journey that revealed your passion for helping women strengthen relationships and rediscover themselves?
Wow, you're right. I really honestly wasn't prepared for this because there's
Right.
so many there's so many moments along the journey that just validate what you asked. So I don't think I can share one specific one. We would be here too long, and that would defeat the purpose or the intention for the teaching. Uh, I look forward to sharing those as
Okay.
we
Okay.
continue to unfold. There's too many of them because
Okay.
for me, personal development is about the unfolding. It is about the becoming. And in the becoming, there isn't just one specific moment that defines us. It
Do
is a
you remember
series.
your age when you first kind of got that there was more to this thinking? Right. I mean, you have it now, but what was there, as a teenager, as a mom, um, in elementary
Well,
school? Go ahead.
so the first moment that I realized that there was more was when I was on my grandmother and my grandfather's steps on the south side of Chicago. I was twirling around, imagining like I always did, saying, noticing and being aware of what was going on around me, which was complete and utter chaos, and knowing that that was not for me, that there was more for me. The second instance where I became more aware was when I was listening to some noise, if you will, in the background. And I was understanding that I could go internal into my body. This was about age 14. I could go into my body and I could absolutely go from head to toe, which if you would have asked me what a body scan was, I wouldn't have had the language for it. But I went head to toe appreciating not only the external parts of me, but I went internal appreciating the organs. Did not know that that was gratitude in the moment, but that was my experience of it. That was my first introduction to what I know today to be my love for gratitude and thankfulness.
That's awesome. And we in our conversation we talk. Hello, Felipe. Felipe Cofino is here. Hey, and Felipe has several live events, and yeah, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. We talked about how children visualize, and actually their creative imagination hasn't been stymied yet by embedded fears, if you will, too many experiences. So children they just create visually, right, with their imagination, which is very well developed. There's very little fear, so they go and create whatever they want. And that's kind of what I'm hearing, aren't I?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, we could have a whole hour on that.
Well, maybe one day we will, and that might be a different show, right? All right. Well, shall we get into it? Now, if anybody has any questions, let me check the comments here. I'll be looking for questions. Isn't this interesting that it won't show me? There we go. There we go. Body scanning is a great way to relax. Felipe says, I'll do a breathing exercise. Oh, and this is my machine causing this. Okay. It must be my bandwidth. So one of the things I did, Kimberly, and without realizing what we're talking about here, isn't it funny how we went through it and we experienced it, and now we're old enough to actually maybe get clear on what was happening so that we can reproduce it. I mean, that's really the way I do goals is, right? Once you get a pattern that actually works, you just keep repeating that. But again, about 10 or 12 years ago, I took the Silva Mind Control, Jose Silva's work, and that's all about visualization. Now, as adults, it allows you to body scan. You can actually go inside your body while remaining objective, right? And we're not objective when we're triggered and we're worried about our fears. And I learned that this is how psychics do and energy workers do distance healing. And who knew that? I was just doing Silva's mind, and Jose Silva raised his children in Texas, and that's when he created his work. The reason I know is because one of my former clients grew up with his kids. So she was taught by Jose Silva the way he did his kids. And the whole point was they were Mexican-American, and he knew inherently that they were not going to have an edge. So that's where he created this work. But it ties right in, doesn't it? It ties right in. It really does. Okay, Christy says, I will be using body scans now. All right, let's see what we can do here to make this look better. There we go. Are you ready, my friend? Let's get into it. Very important, fun work today. We're going to look at gratitude-driven leadership shift. In other words, with the enhancement of gratitude and the results that it can yield, it actually can affect your leadership style and your character. And we're going to start off with a little recap. Now, do you need me to bring that slide up, or okay, you don't. Okay, so in February, Kimberly was here and went through gratitude quite thoroughly. So we're going to set the context from February to kind of remind you what we were talking about. And then we're going to go into genuine connection, creating psychological safety, genuine commitment, strengthening collaboration, and then using affirmation as a self-trust muscle. Does that sound good? Hi, Nicole. Guy Galindo is here. So happy to see you here. Let's take a look at your question really quickly before I let her share with you, if I can get that. Where is it? Oh, okay. This is Felipe's question, I think. What do you say to people who struggle to find things to be grateful for? I always say we have more than someone else and to be grateful for those small things. Good question. What would you say?
So for me, I agree. It is a terrific question because it's a similar question that I would get around meditation. It was my experience before I first meditated for the first time, and it was a similar experience for gratitude, right? So it's like, what do? You look around. That's what you do. You look around you. It's abundance. If you have shelter, if you have 2 arms, 2 legs, you can talk, you can walk, you have a family, perhaps, you have friends, you have food in your refrigerator. Gratitude isn't necessarily all of the bells and whistles. Gratitude starts with the things that we often walk past and don't take time to appreciate. And that was my state, my internal state. So I just want to take you there for a moment. When I say there was noise going on around me, just to bring you into a snapshot of my life, the noise was oftentimes yelling and screaming and all kinds of chaos. My ability, again, no one taking me to therapy, no one taking me anywhere, just me, myself, and I, intuitively going internal and recognizing every part of the body and saying, I have everything I need. I have everything I need. So hopefully this answers your question, Felipe. I would say that just the simple acknowledgement of everything that you currently have, even if it's just one thing, do that. And then move to 2. And then move to 3. And then later along down the line, it will become a habit. 10 things every morning I am grateful. And then you find that you don't even need the list. For those of us who are familiar with Louise Hay, she did not need a list. She was grateful for everything. Everything.
And, I want to add
what healed her.
Let me add one thing here that isn't being said, but is really the common denominator. The size doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the law of relativity. Size is relative to each of us. A lot of times we think, well, that's not big enough. That's not really gratitude, to just say that I have a roof over my head. I've always had a roof over my head. That doesn't seem right. Like my parents did that. And one of the things you can do is use the law of polarity. If you have a hard time coming up with things you're grateful for, go to the place where you're frustrated and the things that you're not grateful for, and make 2 columns. And on the other side, write its opposite, because there always is an up and a down. So if you're having trouble coming up with something that's grateful and it isn't the size, but you are disgruntled, you could start with the things you're frustrated with. And then on the other side of that, you're going to see, oh my God, I really could have it a whole lot worse. Right? All right, let's see what else we have here. Felipe, I hope that answered your question. Let's take a look at this. Let me fix you so that you're not so that you're there. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, this is pretty big. And I'm not sure how to get you in to do this. But anyway, sometimes when I do walking meditation, I just notice the things I never did before and appreciate them. Yes, people in my community, bluebird houses, put them in the parks, and I never noticed this until I started doing walking meditations. And this is something else we talked about, is that we are always present. We are always in the now. There really is no past. There are experiences, but they happened in your present. So a lot of times we get busy worrying about and carrying the past with us, or things that didn't work. We get to create in every moment whatever it is we want. And you'll notice that goals come to you. You don't go and get them. They eventually come to you. Anything else you want to say that before we get into setting the context, my friend?
I need to go shut my windows so
Okay.
I'm not swimming. So I'll be right. We're having a really hard torrential rain that just came through. So let me close a couple windows
Okay.
and I will.
I'll find something to talk about. Don't worry about it. Let's look at this. Inderjit says, when you rise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. Absolutely. This is what gratitude does. And what does gratitude do? It raises your vibration, your cellular vibration. Thought feeds your body, your nervous system, and your brain. So what you think, how frequently you think it, and the way you feel when you're thinking it predominantly will match your results. So if it's a lot of negative, you're going to get negative results. If it's a lot of positive, you're going to get positive results. We're all energetic beings, and the universe will match our vibration. We are part of the universe, and the universe and God rewards us with what we want. How does the universe know what we want? By what we're thinking the most, and how we feel when we're thinking it. If we're feeling really good, the universe says, great, let's send this person more good. And you start looking around, wow, all these good things are happening to me. Your cause in the matter of your life. What that means is that what you think has a direct correlation with your paycheck, your car, your relationships. You and me and Kimberly, we're all 100% responsible for all of it, even if we don't understand it right away or yet. So before we get into this, just tell me, why did I put an onion here?
I love it. You put an onion there because we're peeling back the layers. Last time that I had the pleasure of being invited to your platform, we talked about the whole entire framework, the Gratitude Rewire leadership model. We talked about all 5 pieces of it. And we decided that it was really important to kind of start peeling back the layers. So in honor of this framework and our time here together, we're focusing on the first pillar, and that's gratitude building, trust, and connection. That's the first pillar of this Gratitude Rewire leadership model. And we're going to talk about it. We talked about very briefly, I'm going to revisit our time on February 23rd, 26. And very briefly, we talked about trust. Again, Webster's dictionary, very simplistic definition. And that is that trust is the confidence that someone will act honestly, consistently, with care, especially when it matters, right? That is trust based on the Webster's dictionary. Maybe it's kind of a little bit dressed up a bit, but that is the definition. So we talked about it. But today we're going to reconnect and we're going to explore how gratitude deepens trust and strengthens connection. And we're going to start off by
So your audio, I don't know.
Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So
yes, I don't know whether it was my connection. I didn't know whether it was my connection or your connection, but you were going in and out. So go ahead and start that piece again, please.
Absolutely. It could be the thunderstorm that we're having. So, yeah. So last time we were here in February, we were talking about the pillar very simplistically. We talked about what the definition of trust was. And today we are going to start with that first pillar, and that's gratitude builds trust and connection. But we're going to start out with the definition of what it is, or what does it mean to have psychological safety. So genuine connection creates psychological safety. Now, what is psychological safety? It's having a climate where people feel safe to speak up, to contribute, and to be honest. In a nutshell, without kind of dressing it up. Simplistically, that's what psychological safety is. It is the foundation of trust and high performing teams. It is a non-negotiable, and we need to have it. But I want to frame this up again. And I love what Leslie teaches in regards to the principles of Think and Grow Rich around repetition, because we can't hear it enough, over and over and over again, until we have watered our seeds into the garden, so much so they start to bloom. And so that, for me, is the beauty of having the ability to come and teach.
I love that. So what's an example of what does psychological safety look like? Let's say whether you're in corporate or you're with a client, in your experience or with a client's experience, how can you tell that there's psychological safety? And I know we're going to get in, in number 4, there's an issue with trust, right? There's an issue with, you're never going to be in a room with everybody that you trust, or everybody who is emotionally and spiritually advanced, if you will, right? Or has done this work. So what is it about psychological safety that what does it look like? What does it feel like when you or a client of yours has experienced not having it and then having it? What is that distinction? Do you mind?
Absolutely. So not having it, some examples of that would be quiet.
What do you mean?
Not that the person necessarily cannot speak up, right? I mean, we have free will, we can speak up, right? But that silence is a signal, right? It's a signal. It is when someone does say something that it's not received well. An example of that would be in some of these social platforms.
Well, remember I told you about that experience I had. Do you think this would be a good time to bring that in the group?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
Okay, so this is where we discovered what it was that I had to do to feel psychologically safe and why I didn't feel psychologically safe. So I could begin by saying that I was looking for a couple of years to find a group that people thought like me, right? I mean, that's what we're always looking for. Boy, when I found that I was the happiest, I thought, oh my God, I had everybody on a pedestal, and I am very trusting, and I was very much a Pollyanna, but I was not prepared for being met with a lack of psychological safety. Because remember, I love this group and I looked for it for a long time. And then something happened. Somebody became real, right? And somebody was frustrated and blindsided me. I was not prepared, made some caustic remarks at the end. And I responded without being really triggered. But I said to myself in the moment, I will never speak here again. They do not appreciate me. So what did we get out of that conversation? What was it I could have done? What was missing for me? We can't change those people. But did I really have to leave forever? Or was there something within me that I can do or could have done if I had known to not allow that to bother me, but to stay heart-centered in what the message was? Please.
So in that example, we talk about it on our Wednesdays, Wednesday conversations around emotional mastery. And what you described for that leader was emotional leakage. They were leaking. It's not like we can hide it like a turtle in a shell. What is in us comes out of us. We can't ignore it. And we all have those moments, right? But that was emotional leakage. What you could do is to create a boundary, right? What does the boundary look like? What are you willing, having that experience, what are you willing to share moving forward? Not to mention really tapping in and really exploring through journaling, through possibly some walking, some grounding, whatever you're being called to yourself a little bit more deeply. Because for me, when we have a trigger, no matter what it is, it's just simply an invitation. Sometimes it can feel as if someone is cutting us with a knife and we're bleeding. So it's not about being in a bed of roses. It is about bleeding and saying, ouch, this hurts. I do not want to experience this anymore. I'm acknowledging this.
Right.
And now I am going to set better boundaries. I'm going to explore myself more deeply. I want to understand what it was about that moment that led me to feel so deeply that I didn't belong, that I wasn't being appreciated. Because again, when you were talking about the law of polarity, what was coming up for me is there's always two sides to everything. So that means in a relationship, that means there's a responsibility on both sides of the coin. And we will never learn that lesson until we do our work. And a lot of times, what we see in cultures, in businesses, in our communities, is that we will come across those individuals that are not interested in doing the work.
Mm.
And we can love them, people, from afar. It
So,
doesn't mean that we can't be in rooms with them. It
mhm.
means that it makes us stronger because we're more empowered because of it.
So yes, and I absolutely get that. And where we ended up, so because I have this trusting nature, because I had put this group on a pedestal, to me they could do no wrong. And that was very short-sighted. I needed the boundaries in advance. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, Kimberly, how am I going to trust the room if I don't trust myself? So there was something that was missing for me, that instead of idolizing people and trusting no matter what and leaving myself open, that the work I might have done, and which I've done since, which is to trust myself and what it is that my purpose is. So my purpose is to provide information. But because I didn't have the boundaries, I was blindsided. So what do you think about this idea that we need to forgive ourselves first before we can forgive someone else? And what would it mean if we actually were able to trust our own agency and our own expertise and override our fears of criticism? What difference would that make for me in that room? I would have then said, well, I can still be here, but I'm not speaking to them anymore. And I actually did demand an apology. I never got it publicly, but I got it privately. And I mean, the person did not understand what they had done, right? So what is the advantage of trust in terms of trusting ourselves, or are we getting ahead to number 4, or are we still good on number 2?
Yeah, we're moving ahead. We're moving ahead very fast. Although, since we're talking about it, since we're having a conversation around it, let's address it. For me, that's about not giving away our power, right? Owning our power, right? By being able to walk back in that
Mhm.
space, you are owning your power because no one can take that away from us. No one can take it away from us. We have to trust ourselves first. And again, I know that you're going to have Melanie joining later in June, and she is going to really dive in because that is her lane, Melanie Richards. For those of you who don't know her, she will really be diving in to trust and what that looks like for us. And if we're having challenges in that regard, how we can really lean in and dive into that process. But it really starts with trusting ourselves first. Everything, right? We talk about love. How do we love ourselves first? We talk about forgiving. Do we forgive ourselves? Because if we haven't forgiven ourselves, how do we have that to give to someone else? That's where we get into these conversations around being filled up and overflowing. We're giving to someone else because we have overflow. And when we're not in that state of overflow, that's just an invitation for us to lean back and give ourselves what we need to fill ourselves back up. So, self trust, really essentially, again, we're going to hear more from Melanie in a couple of weeks, but it really is the root of our leadership presence. It
Mm.
really is the root of it. We are setting the tone. We are setting the temperature of the room as
The
leaders.
context, that's the context. And the context is, see, I didn't really set one. Now that I think about it, I was so excited that I just blurted everything out and went through my presentation just like a happy, but totally what I'm thinking about now is that it wasn't really very businesslike. It was very much a child, right? It was a child presenting who was so excited to present in front of these people, right? So I'm finding lately that a lot of these things are forcing me Oh, and inspiring me to go back to childhood, which isn't as easy to remember, right, as things that are happening that have just recently happened. So what I'd like to do is take a quick break, if you don't mind, and I'll make us little, because we have the most amazing sponsors. Hello, Sharon Rose. I saw you coming in. And Leah Garcia, I'm so happy that you're here.
Is Damian Kinsey here?
And Dr. Tanya Farron here, co-founders of the 2350 Network.
The 2350 Network is a place where professionals can gather.
2350 Network members meet to discuss leadership, attend Think Tank Thursdays, participate in book club, socialize, and connect with other professionals.
Our virtual interactive campus, just like the one you see here, is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for members.
So join us at the 2350 Network. To become a member, visit 2350network.com.
And that is awesome. And this is our first Power Thinking Corporate, our first sponsor. They now have an app. So let's take a look at this. So the Power Thinking Corp now is located on an app that you can get at the App Store. It's in special pricing now. Very reasonable. This is a cognitive-based personal development program that sends you messages each day, that has Stanley Green has 2 live shows teaching and going over all of this, what power thinking training is all about. And we're very grateful to have 2 sponsors that believe in this work. The 2350 Network began on LinkedIn, and it meets off of LinkedIn, but many of us, Christy is here, many of us are a member of that network as well. Even though it's off LinkedIn platform, the seeds were here. And then Power Thinking, gosh, I've been a member for over a year now, and so honored that Stanley Green, it was the first one to throw his hat over the fence. So here we go. Let's go right back to where we were, please, my dear. There we go. All right. So should we move into genuine commitment strengthens collaboration now?
Yeah, let's talk about gratitude being the social glue of collaboration. I love the terminology of the social glue because what we know is that recognition of others, right? It's be more interested than being interesting, right? How can we show that, right? We can show that through recognition. And that recognition is going to lower the defenses. So if we have defenses up, we're going to see those defenses lower. Why? Because we want to give others a way in which to tell us about themselves. What's in it for me? Everyone's tuned into the station, right? So if we are looking at gratitude in that sense, and we realize that when we take the time to recognize others, when we take the time to acknowledge them, to ask curious questions.
Well, I got you on that question that you weren't expecting. This is why I do the 15 minutes. This is why I added 15 minutes, because honestly, I live by myself, and I don't think I'm the only one who does. And sometimes it can feel kind of lonely. I don't know whether it's from the pandemic or what it is, but everybody realized that they could work at home, right? They didn't actually have to go into the office. And so maybe what I share with you is the only time you hear about how wonderful you are, right? And we don't have a lot of time, but one of the most poignant shares about acknowledgement was yours, Kimberly, and people are still talking about it, right? And it's when you met up with someone on the street and instinctively brought them food. It was a homeless person. And when you handed it to him, what did he say to you? Repeat what he said when you gave him the food.
It's life-changing, and I'll never forget it. I handed him the food and he said, "This is for me." And I said, "Of course. Merry Christmas. The Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas." And he looked at me and he said a few kind things, but then he said, "You know what? You're the first person that has noticed me in over 2 weeks."
See that?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
And then, you know what? The other thing that really was enlightening about that is he put his hand out and he said, "Could you touch me?" So on the surface of that, and I felt his skin and I can still feel his skin, the dryness of it, the rough, it was rough. But think about that,
Mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
Touch in and connection is what we're built for. So it's not so much that people in this instance are out and about and they have found themselves in a place where they are homeless, for instance.
Mhm, mhm.
It is that they have lost more than their external possessions. It is a type of isolation that none of us would like to experience. Because not only does it have an impact on us in everyday life, it has an impact on our bodies.
Mhm, mhm.
Again, imagine the rough skin. But when you are touched or caressed by a family member, your hand is being held, you're being embraced. That is fuel, that is food for the soul. So far beyond the experience itself. Again, just like we're talking about this framework today on how gratitude really can rewire our leadership journeys, how it can change the trajectory of our lives.
Hey, I just got an idea. What do you think
Yeah.
about this? Do you think that acknowledgement that we do in our live rooms of the people that come in, that is an expression of gratitude? Because I am so grateful. I've trained myself to look for and find your good stuff, right? We all have good stuff and bad stuff, and most of us defer to not so good. But so would you constitute that as an expression of gratitude, or am I out in left field on that?
No, absolutely. It is gratitude. It's not only gratitude because again, we talked about planting seeds. The
Mhm.
seeds are planted over the course of time and then they're watered and then later on they become an embodiment. And this is what this framework is. It isn't just about saying, "Okay, I love gratitude. I love the topic of gratitude." That's fantastic. That's where the awareness lives. But when we take that awareness and we shift it into embodiment, it is something on it's just so much more deeper because then we have trained our mind and what we have learned from Leslie and continue to learn from Leslie in terms of our thought life is that it is important not only to be aware of what our thoughts are, but to program our mind in a way where all we see is the good stuff. We may acknowledge that
Yeah.
something was not pleasant, but we don't stay there. We don't live there. We just acknowledge it, nod our head, and we move on and focus in on what is right. And it's life changing.
Let's jump over to the affirmation, developing self-trust, because we're getting a little close and I want to make sure people know how to reach out to you and how to connect with you and what's going on with you. So let's talk about how we can use affirmation to develop the muscle of self-trust. We had a good conversation about this.
Absolutely. So I think basically what we're talking about is consistency, right? So we acknowledge gratitude, it's important, right? But how do we take this gratitude and actually move to embodiment? Okay. And so that consistency is rewiring our identity. And as Leslie was talking a little bit earlier, Sean is all about identity. So if you want to learn more about that, connect in with his conversation
Yeah.
because that's what he's talking about. But consistency rewires our identity, right? But gratitude-based affirmation is this way in which that we can reinforce our internal safety. We talked about psychological safety a little earlier, right? Again, if we don't have that internal safety, we can't give it away and we can't lead a community of psychological safety. We can't create a culture of psychological safety if we don't have it internally. How can we do that? We can do it by building gratitude-based affirmation. Gratitude-based affirmation, again, it's a tool. It's a tool where we can take it and we can build it into our day. And over the course of time, that garden will grow and we will start blooming in this area.
And
right?
you brought up repetition, which of course is auto-suggestion. It's the first law of learning. So you're talking about consistency, but isn't it even more than just consistency? Isn't a further distinguish that it occurs in spaced intervals over time? Like when we learned the multiplication tables, we didn't just practice them on Mondays and Tuesdays, right? We did it consistently. We did Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or Tuesday and Thursdays for week upon week. So it is now the affirmations are like prayer in the same way that you got to put your whole self into it. You've got to generate it as though you believe it. Even if you're working toward believing it, right? Pretend that you believe it, that you're speaking in front of 10,000 people and these are your affirmations and this has changed your life. I'm getting goosebumps, right? What you're doing with your thoughts is you're accelerating the cellular vibration into alignment with how we were made for love and kindness and gratitude. Yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love what you were saying there, Leslie, in regards to doing it anyway. Because whenever we put ourselves in a position to embrace a new skill, it's going to feel a little different. So I'll just share this quick example of when I was in my early 20s and I found out like I had this thing. Can you resonate with it? It was called anxiety. I didn't know what it was. I had some panic attacks and I thought, okay, I thought I was the most positive person ever. Not, I wasn't. And I had to accept that. So I accepted that. And then I started changing my brain with Louise Hay.
Actually, it's your mind actually does it. But then once it's changed, automatically you start moving toward the positive rather than the negative. So it's all depending on, Louise Hay used to say, well, it went in her book, You Can Heal Your Life. I remember before my knees were replaced, it says, well, you're having a hard time moving forward. Well, okay, so each one of these ailments all come from what we're thinking. Now, I don't think she said it exactly that way, but we do know now that if you focus on your headache, and I have a headache, it gets worse and it doesn't go away. However, if you try to pinpoint where the headache is, it moves.
Well, I just too want to say this, Leslie. I shared when you asked me that question at the beginning of our
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
I'm on the steps of imagine this. This, I think, is a powerful example. I'm on the steps of my grandparents' home, twirling around, having fun, being my imaginative self, my wondrous self as a child, right? Telling myself there's more than this for me. There's more. There's more. I didn't have the language for it, but this is what we're talking about here when we're talking about embracing gratitude in our lives and moving it into our leadership roles in our cultures, right? This is, again, it's a process. It is a process. And I've loved this. And I know we're just getting started
I know
in it.
we did that. That's okay. You'll come back, but let's, in the interest of time and moving people into the next, this has been so awesome. So I want people to understand how they can reach out to you, and that you do have a giveaway. That this is Kimberly's number if you want to have an appointment with her. She's here on LinkedIn, and she does things on Wednesday also. So you might want to find out what else Kimberly does. And before we go on, I want to, for a second, I thought this was a QR code, but it wasn't. So reach out to Kimberly. She has things she will share with you. You've heard her before. It may require a conversation. So Kimberly, now as you're getting ready to step back into the studio, and I'll be there in just a minute, what's the last, what of all the things we talked about today, what is the one thing that you would send people out to hold top of mind for the next couple of days about gratitude and leadership and how you're feeling? Let us have it.
So it's going to sound repetitious. It's going to sound redundant.
We love redundant.
Yeah. Practice gratitude. Felipe had a terrific question. How does someone embrace gratitude that doesn't feel like they have anything to be grateful for? Look around. Do this exercise. Sit in the middle of your living room floor. Look around just for 1 minute, 60 seconds. Then give yourself another minute and write down as many things that you're grateful for. I'm telling you. It doesn't matter if it's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10. It doesn't matter.
Or big or little.
Right. Or big or little. It can be, I have food in my fridge. I can speak. I can speak. And I want to leave you with this thought. Part of my journey was working with children and families. And those children, a lot of times, did not have the ability to say a word. A word. They didn't have the wiring in the brain for language. Some of the children could not walk. They could not hear. They did not have full use of what we have access to every day. And that is our brain and our mind.
That's right. That's right. Kimberly,
we have so much.
You have been fabulous. And of course, I want you back again. And I'm excited working with you on your 5 pillars. It's been really illuminating for me. I mean, I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store with you and the guest teachers. So everyone, you know how you can reach Kimberly. Do not delay. The purpose of the guest teaching spots is so that you learn and resonate with these teachers. And then when you're ready to do something, you already know who you feel aligned with, right? because it'll be one of
I want to preface this by saying it's all about relationship building. So, Leslie, thanks so much. I just want to appreciate you for, again, inviting me to join your platform. And it is an honor. And just know that this invitation for you to connect with me is just to build a relationship, even if it is to talk about gratitude. Maybe it's an insight, a perspective that you want to talk about. I want to talk about it with you. And I have a gift for you. I have a gift for you to explore gratitude, to invite more gratitude into your life, because maybe, you're at a certain spot in your life in terms of gratitude, but you want to move yourself forward, right? Let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. Let's get to know each other. You can text me. I would love to set some time up. I'm typically available on Fridays and would love to have a conversation. Leslie, again, it has been an absolute pleasure. It is an honor to be here with you today.
And I will say the honor is all ours. I'm going to move you back into the studio, and I'll be back there in just a minute. And I want to bring this back up here so you can see that next week we have Josette Peloton is our guest teacher next week. And as you know, on Friday, we have Think and Grow Rich. And this is the week of imagination. And I've got some exciting things with visualization to prepare for you. And with that, I'm going to say, have a phenomenal week, everyone. And we're going to end the stream now with the beautiful intro, outro Erin Gibson created for this show. Have a fabulous week, everyone.